All right, we're back in session. The defendant and counsel are present. The jurors are absent. Everybody ready to proceed?
Yes, Your Honor.
Who would be your next witness?
Detective Thomas Willett.
Say again?
Thomas Willett.
Okay. Is he present?
Yes.
Okay. Sheriff, ask the jury to come in, please. All right, we're back in session. Afternoon, folks. We're ready to proceed now. Call your next witness, please.
State calls Detective Thomas Willett.
All right, officer, come down, be sworn. Remain standing, put your left hand on the Bible, raise your right hand, please. Thank you.
Please promise with this testimony that the court will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes, ma'am.
You may proceed.
Detective, could you state your name and spell it actually?
My name is Detective Willett of the Raleigh Police Department. Willett is spelled O-U-E-L-L-E-T-T-E.
And you mentioned that you work for the Raleigh Police Department
Correct.
and you're a detective.
Correct.
And how are you currently assigned?
I'm currently assigned to the FBI Child Exploitation Task Force.
Back in July of 2011, how are you assigned with the Raleigh Police Department?
I was assigned to the Special Victims Unit.
And how long have you been with the Raleigh Police Department?
Almost 17 years.
And back in July of 2011, were you asked to participate in an investigation of the death of Laura Ackerson?
Yes.
And what was your first involvement in that case?
I was working a late shift. Detective Morse came into my office, asked me if I would assist him in a search warrant at the residence belonging to Grant Hayes and Patsy Ann Hayes in Kinston, North Carolina.
And that was on July 25th of 2011?
Correct.
And did you accompany Detective Morse to Kinston?
Correct. Yes, I did.
And when you went to Kinston, where did you go?
We went to the house that is owned by Grant Hayes and Patsy Ann Hayes in Kinston, North Carolina. I don't have the address.
Okay. And was that a 2-level house?
It was.
Your Honor, can I approach a witness?
You may.
Detective Willett, I showed you what's previously been admitted. It's Exhibit 381 through 402. Could you look at those?
Yes, sir.
And are those reflective of the search that you did in that house in Kinston?
Yes, these are photographs that I took during the search of that residence.
And specifically, what area of that house did you search in Kinston?
I was assigned mostly to search the upstairs part of the house, while Detective Morse searched the downstairs. But I took photographs throughout the house.
Your Honor, Matt published States Exhibit 380.
Say again.
Matt published States Exhibit 380.
You may.
Detective, I believe this is States Exhibit 380. This is the computer room of that house that belonged to Grant Hayes' parents.
Yes.
Okay. And you were responsible for searching the upstairs of that house?
Correct.
Your Honor, come approach the witness.
All right.
specifically, I believe Detective Morse testified the other day. Your state's Exhibit 384. Is that the downstairs of that house?
Yes, that is the kitchen of the on the first floor and downstairs of that house.
And state's Exhibit 386. Is this a picture of the coolers that were found inside that house?
Yes,
Okay. And did you search this area, or was this Detective Morse's area?
Detective Morse searched that area. I just took the photograph.
Drawing your attention to the state's Exhibit 392. Is this the upstairs of that house?
Yes,
Okay.
that is depicted from the hallway looking into what I believe to be the master bedroom of the residence.
And this is state's Exhibit 393. Is this the room that you searched?
Yes,
And the other day, we saw some pictures of a note that was found inside that house.
yes.
That I believe is state's Exhibit 381, and I'll show you that picture now. Did you find that note?
I did.
And could you tell this jury where you found that note in this house?
I found it on a bureau in the master bedroom that we just spoke about.
Yark, have 1 moment to approach the clerk.
All right.
Additionally, in that bedroom, did you also find some other materials?
Yes, I did find an envelope that was positioned on a chair, and the envelope had several different items inside.
And going back to this picture of the room, you know the chair where you found that envelope depicted?
The chair is in the middle of the photograph. It's got a white shirt over the back of it, and you can see the envelope sitting against the white shirt. It's like a yellow manila or yellowish envelope.
I'll show you state's Exhibit 394. Is that the manila envelope that you found?
Yes, sir.
And state's Exhibit 396. Are these some of the materials that were found inside that envelope?
Yes, sir.
And additionally, there was a check that was found inside that envelope inside the house.
Yes.
And who is that check addressed to?
It was a personal check written to Amanda Hayes from Candace Rowland out of Katy, Texas.
And I'll show you state's Exhibit 399. Is that a picture of that check?
Yes.
And additionally, in that envelope, going back to the previous exhibit, those are some of the items that were found in there, some debit cards and jewelry.
Correct.
Okay. And was that the only room in the house that you searched?
No.
Okay, what other rooms did you search?
There's like another bedroom on the upstairs. I guess it's a bedroom. It's another room on the upstairs, and it just had a lot of storage stuff, a lot of just miscellaneous boxes with just a bunch of items. So it looks like they were just using that room for storage.
Okay. At this point, this is Monday, July 25th, when you're searching this home?
Correct.
Okay. And at that point, were you aware that, I guess, Grant and Amanda Hayes had been arrested from this home the hours previous?
Correct.
And so when you searched this home, there was no one else in there?
Correct.
And it appeared that Grant's parents, Grant and Patsy Hayes, lived there?
Correct.
Okay. Thank you, Detective. Nothing further.
Anything else? Mr. Gaskins?
Yes. Could you give me just a moment, Your Honor?
All right.
Pronunciation of your last name again, I'm sorry.
It's Detective Willett.
Wallet.
Willett.
Wallet.
Correct.
In this photograph, I see a Visa card.
Correct.
Whose name appears on that Visa card?
I can't tell from this angle. I think I took a photograph of it. I noted it was an RBC Visa check card.
Okay. May I approach witness, Sean?
Sure.
Let me hand you that photograph and ask you if you can tell me the name on that card.
Grant Hayes,
What are the last digits that appear on that credit card number?
4655.
Yes, sir. Now, you also, I believe, indicated that one of the things that you located in that house were two coolers, two blue and white coolers.
I took a picture of the coolers. They were on the first floor.
If I
Did-
can borrow them. Are these, I'm getting the right one. May I approach the witness?
Sure.
Officer, I'd like to hand you what I have marked as, well, I haven't marked it as anything, the State Department, 386, and ask you if in that photograph you see those two blue coolers.
I do, sir.
Do you also see a pair of gray men's underwear?
They look like, look like boxer shorts, like a starter brand.
And you see those also again in Exhibit 387?
Correct.
Correct. Thank you, sir. Now, were you present when Grant Hayes was seen carrying these two coolers into the house?
I was not.
Did you take part in the search that was conducted of the trash container that was retrieved from the Woodfield Glen Apartments sometime later?
No.
You didn't go to the that warehouse where all the garbage?
Nope. I was not involved with that search.
You didn't take part in that, okay. Okay, thank you, sir, that's all I have.
Anything else?
Clerk, Your Honor.
All right.
But I do have one other question, if I may.
All right, go ahead.
Officer, are you familiar with what is called a comprehensive report that is available to Raleigh police officers using special software?
I have no idea what you're referring to.
May I approach the witness, Your Honor?
All right.
Let me ask you to take a look at what I have marked as exhibit number 112 and ask you if you recognize that.
Oh, it's part of an Accurant report. Yes, I'm familiar with Accurant.
What's it called?
Accurant.
An
Accurant.
accurate?
ACCURINT.
Okay. I see across the top it says comprehensive report. Would you come over a few pages ahead and tell me what property, what real
Object to
property?
hearsay, Your Honor.
Let me see the document. Thank you. Are you familiar with this document? This particular document?
I am not familiar with that document. I'm familiar with Accurent. I run Accurent reports before, but I've never run any Accurent report for this case, so I have not seen that report.
You haven't seen that particular one?
Correct.
Okay. Objection sustained at this point. This is Defendant's Exhibit 112.
That's all I have. Thanks, sir.
Anything further?
Yes, Your Honor, Matt Frisch.
All right.
Detective, I hand you this to Mark, to State's Exhibit A403. Is this one of the items that was recovered from that search of Patsy and Grant Senior's house?
Yes, it was.
Okay, and what is this?
It's a handwritten note.
Okay. And that was seized as part of that search on July 25th, 2011.
Correct.
Your Honor, this time I move State's Exhibit A403 into evidence.
That fourth of them said.
And I think we saw a picture of this the other day, but could you read what this note says?
It says, I, Grant Hayes, leave Gentle and Grant, leave Gentle and Grant and Lily Hayes in the sole custody of Grant and Patsy Hayes, dated 7/24/2011. It's signed by,
Does it have two signatures?
it does look like two signatures.
Okay, and then below, does it have a listing written Raleigh Pediatrics and some phone numbers?
Correct.
Okay. And could you just hold that up so the jury could see it? And you also took a picture of that was included in those pictures from the search?
Correct.
Okay, thank you. That's
All right. Anything else? Thank you, officer. You can stand down. Call your next witness.
Take off Mark Herbert.
Okay. Sir, if you come around, if you would, please. There's a Bible right here. Put your left hand on the Bible and raise your right hand, please. Thank you.
You swear to the testimony you give this court will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Go ahead.
Mr. Herbert, could you state your name for the court?
My name's Mark Christopher Herbert.
And could you pull the microphone closer? There you go. And how are you employed?
I drive for Waste Industries.
Okay, and what do you drive for Waste Industries?
Roll-off,
And when you say roll-off, is that a type of garbage truck?
correct.
Okay. And back in 2011, were you also driving a garbage truck for Waste Industries?
Correct.
And can you describe to the jury, you mentioned a roll-off. What kind of garbage truck is that?
Actually, it's a truck that has a boom that raises up, and we pull compactors or open-top containers or self-contained units from apartments, businesses, commercial and residential.
And how long have you been doing that?
6 years.
And as part of your route, do you pick up the dumpsters at Bella Park Trail and Camden Crest Apartments?
Correct.
And back in July 2011, did you do that route?
Yes, I did.
And as part of your, could you explain to the jury sort of the route and how often those dumpsters get picked up?
Some apartments go every other week. The one in question, I think, goes every other week. Some go every week, depending on their flow of trash.
Okay. And these are big dumpsters that an entire apartment complex uses?
Yeah, they hold a lot. They're 30-yard, 40-yard containers, self-contained, and they compact, so you can go a while.
And this specific apartment complex, Camden Crest, is that picked up on Fridays?
Camden Crest?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
And I'm sorry. Can you explain sort of the way that your route works on a Friday? Do you pick up multiple dumpsters and then dump those out and then come back and pick up other dumpsters?
Yeah, in that particular area, whatever the area I'm working, I'll work that whole area. So there's Thorn Hills Apartments, Woodfield Glen, Camden Crest. I pick them up, take them to the transfer station, dump them out, and those same containers actually go right back to the exact place where I took it from because they're designated for each apartment.
And Woodfield Glen is another apartment complex where you pick up one of these dumpsters?
Yes.
And is that done on a Friday?
I'm trying to remember back then. It might have been a Friday.
Okay.
I'm
Do you
not
remember
sure.
back then talking to some detectives from the Raleigh Police Department?
Yes, I think they were in contact with my company, and my operation manager had gave them my number, and I was in contact with at that time, a Detective Hall.
Okay. Your Honor, come approach the witness.
You may.
Mr. Herbert, I hand you has been marked for identification purposes in State's Exhibit 409 through 417. Could you look through those?
Sure.
And sir, those pictures, are they all pictures of the Woodfield Glen apartments and the dumpster there?
Yes, they are.
And would that help illustrate your testimony to the jury about what kind of dumpster we're talking about?
What was that?
Would that help illustrate your testimony to the jury?
Yeah.
Your Honor, at this time I move to enter State's Exhibit 409 through 417.
Let him be received.
Your Honor, I'd ask to publish these. via-
You may.
While pulling those up, Mr. Herbert, with these dumpsters, how do residents at the apartments put the trash into the dumpster?
Actually, usually there's a chute, an opening, for you to walk up to, and you can just deposit your trash in there, and then maintenance will come by and actually run it probably 2 or 3 times in a day, so that it just doesn't pile up and it just gets packed into the box.
Okay. And I guess as that dumpster is full, that's when you come by on a Friday and load it on your truck and go. And where do you dump it?
Actually, this area, we transfer the trash to East Wake Transfer Station on Corporation Parkway.
And what is East Wake Transfer Station? What is that facility?
It's just a midway point. All the trash basically eventually goes to the landfill if you're close to the landfill, but the transfer station is exactly what it does. It's a midway point where you can put the garbage there, and then tractor trailers will transfer it to the landfill throughout the day.
And before us, we see State's Exhibit 409. Eric, have approach witness.
You may.
Mr. Herbert, is that a picture of this apartment complex?
Yes.
And that's State's Exhibit 409. Obviously, that's the dumpster there in the foreground.
Yeah, to the right. Yes.
And this building right here, is that the apartment complex that is Woodfield Glen?
Correct.
And in this picture, just to be clear, the object on the right, is that the dumpster that you pick up?
Right. That's a breakaway, a self-contained breakaway.
Is there also another item right here?
That would be, if I'm not mistaken, would be a cardboard front-end container.
Okay. And I'll show you State's Exhibit 410. There, can you see that container on the left a little bit better?
Hmm.
And that's not something that you pick up?
No, it's not.
Okay. And this is State's Exhibit 411. Is that, I guess, how the dumpster appears when you open the gate?
Correct.
And is that secure? I mean, do you have to unlock the gate to be able to pull the dumpster out?
Yeah, and the actual container is secured to the packing unit itself. I have to unhook the actual box from the packing unit.
Here, actually, State's Exhibit 412, that appears to be some sort of recycling.
Correct.
And this is State's Exhibit 413. Does that depict the area where residents of that apartment complex can put the trash in there?
Yeah, the walkway going up to the right, and then just the brick opening is where you would throw the trash into the chute.
I show you State's Exhibit 414, is that where the residents throw the trash in?
Yes,
In State's Exhibit 415, is that another closer view of that area?
correct.
And does it slide down into that dumpster?
It's a flat surface, but it's pitched so that it will go down on top of the packing unit. And the controls to the right is, well, I have keys to it and maintenance has keys to it. Nobody else has keys to operate it.
What does that control do?
The packing, it actually makes it pack the garbage. It'll slide the, I guess, I call it the ram.
Okay.
It'll pull the ram back and the garbage will drop down and then it'll push the ram forward to push the garbage into the box.
And I show you State's Exhibit 417. I'm sorry. This is State's Exhibit 417. Is that a view of the ramp as it goes into the
Right,
dumpster?
where the bags would fall down in, behind, to the right of it is a ram that would push the garbage into the box, correct?
Okay. Madam Clerk, could we turn the light back on? Thank you. Mr. Herbert, back in July of 2011, you mentioned that Raleigh detectives, Detective Hall, contacted someone in your business, and eventually did Detective Hall come and talk to you?
Yeah, he made a phone call, well, yeah, I called him, and we made a phone call and he gave me a specific time to meet him.
Okay. And was that, I guess, as part of your route on one of those July days?
On that particular day, yes.
Okay. And so when you went to Woodfield Glen on that July day, do you remember what day it was?
Not offhand.
Okay. But at some point you met with Raleigh police detectives as part of your route?
Correct.
And when you went to pick up the garbage that day, what happened?
Well, we spoke that morning. I was to call him, and he was going to meet me there. So we waited on the street. I didn't actually enter the apartment complex until he arrived, and then he followed me in. And while I picked up the box, and secured it, and loaded it onto the truck, and then followed me to East Wake transfer station.
And at the East Wake transfer station, what happened when you got to the East Wake transfer station?
Well, I waited. They made contact with the operations personnel there, and they coned off or designated an area for me to dump the contents of that container onto the floor where there was nothing there. It was cleaned.
All right, have Richard witness.
You may.
Mr. Herbert, I hand you what's been marked as Stacy's in A283. Is that a picture of that East Wake transfer station?
Correct.
And would that help illustrate your testimony to the jury?
Yes.
Your Honor, I move to enter Stacy's Exhibit 283.
Let me receive.
Now I would ask to publish that as well.
You may.
And Mr. Herbert, as I pulled that up, you mentioned that when you came to that East Wake transfer station, what would you usually do with that dumpster as part of the regular course of business without the police there?
Regular day would I'd be assigned directed to a pile which was already be on the ground while they're pushing up. That's away from the operating machines, and I would just be able to dump the contents and move on because it's a pretty heavy flow of trash coming in.
Okay. And this day, so it's dumped onto the floor of this hangar, basically? Is that what the East Wake transfer station looks like?
Yeah, it's a building that has a big overhang, but the trash has to be inside of it, and they have machines that push it up or actually push it into, there's a pit where they push it off the floor into tractor trailers, and the tractor trailers then would haul it away.
And finally, State's Exhibit A283 appears. I guess in the back of that facility, and I think there might be a laser pointer up there,
Yes.
little button on it. But could you point to, I guess, is there a sign that says danger open pit below?
Right there.
Okay. And so underneath that arrow, is there a hole?
It's a big opening, correct.
And so you bring in the dumpster and dump out all the trash?
Right, and normally you could see the machine right there, and they would actually just push it to the opening, and underneath it would actually be tractor trailers that are open at the top, and the trash would go down into the trailers, and then they would cover it, secure it, and then haul it away.
On this day, did you dump the trash, I guess, in what we see in this exhibit, behind sort of a cordoned off area?
Hmm.
And as you, I guess, dumped out that, can you explain to the jury how you dumped out the dumpster?
Well, they coned this section off so this floor was clean, and they instructed me to back up and just open the door. It's basically unlatch the door, swing it open, raise the body up, and pull forward. And as I pull forward, it just lays the trash out the way you see it there. And once I get to the end, where the very end is right here, then I just lower the body back down, secure the door, and that's it.
After, on this day in July of 2011, when you dumped out the trash here, what did you see happen after you dumped out the trash?
Well, after I dumped the trash out, I had to bring it back to Woodfield Glen. And then, of course, there was another apartment that I had to do right afterwards. So I had to come right back. And when I came back, it was quite a busy scene over there with camera flashes, and there was detectives up to their hips sorting through that.
And so you saw detectives in that trash up to their hips.
Absolutely.
As you move as you dump out the trash, there's another person who pushes it into the hole. Is that accurate?
Normally, that's what would happen is once I pull away, that machine would come right up behind me and push that away.
And on this day, you dumped it out and it stayed there cordoned off.
Yes, they were already instructed not to that the detectives needed that area.
And last question, do you know how often that Woodfield Glen Apartments, how often it's picked up?
I honestly think it goes every 2 weeks. If I remember, it's every 2 weeks.
Nothing further, Your Honor.
All right. Questions?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Your Honor. Good afternoon, Mr. Herbert.
Good afternoon.
I'd like to try to get a sense of which days the garbage had been picked up from Wood Glen Apartments prior to the day that you picked it up and took it to the warehouse. You indicated that it's picked up every 2 weeks. Do you recall what the last day it would have been that it was picked up before you picked up the load that went to the warehouse?
I would say the Thursday, 2 weeks prior or a week prior. I'm not really sure. There's a lot of things that happen. Sometimes we run behind. Sometimes the trucks break down. We don't actually sometimes actually pick it up right on time.
So you don't always pick it up on Friday?
Well, we do, but I'm trying to remember if that day, that particular week, my truck was down, broke that particular day, because it does happen.
Is there any way to determine whether or not that dumpster had been picked up on Friday, July 15th?
If it was picked up, you're talking about the 2 weeks prior to that.
2 weeks prior.
That would have been probably a Thursday that it was picked up.
If there was something in that trash container that wasn't purchased until Saturday, July 16th, that would indicate that it had to have been picked up when?
Objection to form of question.
It's usually picked up 2 weeks prior. They go every 2 weeks, so if I picked them up on that Friday, 2 weeks before that was when they were serviced last.
Okay. So if you picked them up on that Friday, which would have been July 29th,
Right,
the last pickup would have been July 15th,
correct,
2 weeks before.
correct.
So if there was an item in that trash container that was purchased on July 16th, then it would have had to have been put in there after the trash had been picked up on July 15th. Am I right?
Well, I guess so. I mean, if I picked it up at 8 o'clock in the morning or 7 o'clock in the morning, and it would be put back 45 minutes later.
Is that generally when you pick it up, 7 o'clock in the morning?
Sometimes I go in there at 6 o'clock in the morning. Yes, I have a big route.
That's a big ride. You're going to different apartment complexes.
Right, and the dump facility opens at 6.
So if you're picking it up on Friday, it gets back on Friday, doesn't it?
Correct.
whatever got put in, whatever got picked up after you took it back Friday, July 15th, is still in that container when you picked it up and took it to the warehouse, correct?
I would, yeah, if they put it in then, or if anything, and they could have waited a day later or 2 days later. I'm trying to figure out what you're trying to say.
Well, I'm probably not doing it very well, and I apologize. What I'm getting at is if the trash container, if you pick up the trash container on Friday, July 15th, you'd have taken it everything to the dump, right?
Right,
And then you picked it up again on July 29th, 2 weeks later.
correct.
So everything that was in that trash container got in there after you took it back on July 15th.
Correct.
Did I do better?
That was good.
Thank you. That's all.
All right, anything else?
Briefly, Mr. Herbert, that's all dependent on someone throwing the trash into this dumpster after July 15th, isn't it?
Well, it depends on how frequent they throw their trash out, yeah.
Sure. And so your memory is that you pick this trash up once every 2 weeks, and it sounds like if July 15th is a Friday, you think it's every 2 weeks on a Friday?
You know, I don't do the scheduling, so sometimes it's hard to say when it gets scheduled like that. I just get dispatched with a route sheet, so I really don't personally do the scheduling for it.
Sure. And you remember talking to detectives back 2 years ago, and folks from Waste Industries passing that information along to detectives 2 years ago?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Oh,
Let me just follow up with one more thing, if I may.
Sure.
Are you saying that it might have been picked up on Thursday instead of Friday?
it's possible. I'm not on that route anymore, so it also depends on what they did with their contract. Yeah, at that time, they were on a 2-week pickup every 2 weeks. Okay.
So what I think I'm hearing you say is that it probably got picked up on Friday the 15th.
I'm trying to. I would say so.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
That's all.
All right. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Be excused. Go our next witness.
State Calls Detective Brian Hall.
Okay. Officer, be sworn, please.
Responsible testimony is going to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
You may proceed.
Detective, could you state your name for the court?
My name is Brian Hall.
And how are you employed?
Currently a sergeant with the Raleigh Police Department's Internal Affairs Unit.
I apologize. Sergeant Hall, did you used to be a detective back 2 years ago?
That's correct.
Okay. And how long have you been with the Raleigh Police Department?
For about 13 years now.
And for a couple of years, were you a detective with the Raleigh Police Department?
Yes, I was.
And at some point, were you in the homicide division?
I was.
And back in July of 2011, did you have occasion as part of that unit to investigate the disappearance and murder of Laura Ackerson?
Yes, I did.
And how did you first become involved in that investigation?
There was an initial briefing that occurred with our particular homicide unit back on July 19th of 2011. We have another homicide unit that works basically opposite hours of us at that time, and there was some initial involvement that that particular unit had had earlier in the day, and a briefing was held to convey the results of their investigation and follow up to our particular unit.
That Tuesday was July 19th, is that correct?
Yes.
And so the other homicide team, which is made up of around 5 detectives,
Yes, it is.
what time did their shift end?
Theirs was normally finished around 4 p.m.
And when you came in at that time, that's when this briefing occurred to pass along information?
That's correct.
And did you hear information from Detective Bortney from the Kinston Police Department?
Not at that particular time, but later in the evening, yes.
And all this information is being shared among you detectives?
Yes, it is.
And after that briefing, what did you do next?
I looked through various apartment complexes and various business complexes near the area of an apartment complex that was somewhat significant to the investigation.
And this is on the evening of Tuesday, July 19th?
That's correct.
And at some point that night, was Laura's car discovered in the Camden Crest Apartments?
Yes, it was.
And so remember, the Camden Crest Apartments is the north of the Woodfield Glen Apartments?
It is.
And I guess as that night progressed, did you also talk with some of Laura's friends and associates?
Yes, that particular evening I did.
And did you talk to Siobhan Mathis and Heidi Shoemaker?
Yes.
And then you mentioned that you were researching some of these areas around the apartment complex. What sort of areas were you looking at?
A lot of the apartment complexes where there's a significant amount of vehicle traffic and parked vehicles, any businesses that had a significant amount of vehicles parked at it. Crabtree Mall was close by, and also several hotels, and I believe there's a CarMax at that particular area, and also Umstead Park is close by as well.
So as you're circulating and investigating these areas, at some point that night you find out that Laura's car has been found?
Yes.
And that's that white Ford Focus?
Yes, it is.
And when that white Ford Focus is found, I guess, late on July 19th or early on the 20th, what do you do?
I responded to that particular location.
And what did you do when you got there?
I took note of a vehicle that was parked next to it, and we searched the database to determine who the registered owner was for that particular vehicle.
Okay, so the car that's parked directly next to Laura's car, you researched that person?
Yes.
And based on that research, did you move on to search other areas?
Yes, we did.
Okay. At some point that night, did CCBI arrive to take pictures of the vehicle and process the vehicle?
They did.
And after CCBI processed that car, what did you do next?
A very brief canvass was conducted of anybody that might have been out walking around at that particular time, but it was going on into the 3, 4 o'clock in the morning time frame at that point.
And when you say canvas, is this a situation where you knocked on folks' doors at 3 or 4 in the morning?
There was one particular door that we did do some follow-up with that was somewhat significant to the investigation, and it was within eyesight of where the vehicle was recovered from.
And why was that door significant to you?
The law enforcement databases indicated that Grant Hayes possibly had lived at that particular address in the past.
Okay. And that was the apartment where Grant and Laura allegedly shared an apartment in the years prior?
That's correct.
Okay. After you, I guess, looked at that apartment, did you discover someone else was living there now?
Yes.
Anything about talking to them further your investigation at all?
No.
After you, I guess, moved on past that apartment, what did you do next?
Now we're going into the morning time of the next shift, the next day, and I conducted some follow-up with the trash dumpster on the property itself of not that complex, but the neighboring complex.
And when you say the neighboring complex, is that the Woodfield Glen apartment complex that we just saw pictures of?
That's correct.
And did you have information at that time that Grant and Amanda Hayes were living at that apartment complex?
Yes.
When, I guess before you went to that apartment complex and looked up that information and about the trash, was a search warrant conducted at some point on the 20th, that next Wednesday, into the apartment that Grant and Amanda Hayes shared?
Yes, there was a search conducted, yes.
And did you aid with that search?
Yes, I did.
And the front door of that search, when you went into that house, did you notice anything or smell anything?
There was a significant bleaching stain that was just off of the linoleum as soon as you walked into the apartment, maybe a few feet of linoleum tile or flooring, and then the carpet started in the apartment, and there was a significant bleach stain or discoloration in the carpet.
And Your Honor, Matt published States Exhibit 74 at this time.
You may?
And the Detective, is this the bleach spot that you're referring to?
Yes.
And when you walked in this apartment to search it, did you notice that bleach spot immediately?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. At this point, when that search warrant was executed on Grant and Amanda's apartment on July 20th, I guess the early morning hours, did you have information that Laura had been headed over to Grant and Amanda's apartment?
At that point, we felt pretty confident that there was enough information indicating that she was en route to the Raleigh area, yes.
And I guess other homicide detectives, had they spoken with Detective Gortney from the Kinston Police Department by this point?
Yes.
And Detective Gortney had spoken with Grant Hayes on that Monday? Is that
Y-
accurate?
yes.
When that search warrant was executed in that apartment, did you search a particular room?
I did.
And what room did you search?
I conducted a search of the foyer area or the hallway that was just off to the kitchen area. There was a small, not a coat closet, but more of a storage closet that I searched, along with a search of the children's bedroom, and finished up the search of the master bedroom, which was initially started by a different detective.
And do you recall which detective started the search of the master bedroom?
Detective Quarello had started that search.
And when you say, the jury has seen a schematic or diagram of this apartment. When you say master bedroom, is that the bedroom that appeared that Grant and Amanda Hayes shared?
Yes.
Okay. Additionally, was there another bedroom, I guess, to the left as you walk in the apartment that was used as an office?
It seemed that way, yes.
And that was the area that Detective Salmon searched?
I'm not sure.
Okay. But there are various detectives sort of dividing up the apartment to search it.
Yes.
And you mentioned that one of the areas that you searched was the hall bathroom, is that correct?
Yes, I did.
And that's the bathroom that, as you walk in the door and look down that hallway, is on your right,
It is.
directly across the room that Grant and Amanda shared?
I don't know if it was directly across, but it was the closest bathroom for that particular bedroom, yes.
Like, roughly across the hall?
Yes,
And the boys' bedroom was at the end of that hallway?
it was.
And what did you notice, if anything, about that hall bathroom as you searched it?
I noted on the carpet that was in the hallway there leading into the bathroom, there were two discolorations along the wooden molding that would be for that door going into the bathroom. There were two smaller discolorations in the carpeting. And looking into the bathroom itself, it appeared that there was not any bath mat that would go typically in front of the shower area. Also, perhaps the toilet mat, there was not a toilet mat. The shower curtain was not present, and also the shower rod was not present as well.
Did that bathroom, compared to other rooms in the house, how did that bathroom seem in terms of cleanliness?
It was practically sterile.
And when you say it was practically sterile, did it smell like a sterile, clean room?
It did.
And did you notice any sort of stains or anything at all inside that room?
In the bathroom itself, I did not notice any stains that I recall, no.
Outside the bathroom, the hallway is carpeted, is that correct?
That's correct.
And what, if anything, did you notice about the hallway carpeting outside that bathroom?
Again, there were two smaller discolorations on the carpeting leading into the bathroom itself that were on the molding going to that particular doorway.
At this point, as you start this search into Grant and Amanda's apartment, what are you searching for?
At that particular time, we're looking for information that could lead to locating Laura at that particular time. We're looking for documents that could lead us to that recovery of Laura. We're also looking for things that seem out of place as well and taking note of those particular items.
And you took note of the bleach stain by the front door and the bleach stain by the bathroom?
Yes.
You also took note of the fact that the bathroom didn't have a shower curtain, a shower rod, bath mats, anything of those lines in that bathroom?
That's correct.
As you search this apartment apartment, you mentioned that you were looking for information on where Laura could be. Did you, at some point, was a note discovered in the kitchen area that appeared to have Laura Ackerson's signature on it?
Yes, that was located.
Aside from this remarkably clean bathroom and the note, was there anything else during your search that you noted?
Not that I recall.
After you completed that search, I think you mentioned something about the trash collection and finding out information about that. How did you go about finding information about the trash?
I went to the apartment complex office and I spoke with somebody there, and information was developed that Waste Industries was the company that would typically pick up the dumpster and take it to the East Wake transfer facility.
And this is early on the morning of Wednesday, July 20th, is that correct? I guess is this morning by this point?
Yes, we're into the 20th now.
Did you contact Waste Industries to try to find out the schedule that Woodfield Glen apartment complex, the dumpster was emptied?
Yes, I did.
And what did you find out?
Information was developed that time-stamped the initial pickup of that particular dumpster, and that would have occurred on July 15th, 2011. And they provided the employee name who picked up that particular dumpster and the time that it was picked up, and it was picked up at 9:30 a.m.
And who picked up that?
Mark Herbert,
And then that was the gentleman who previously testified.
correct.
Did you try to find out when the next time that dumpster would be emptied?
The information indicated that it would have been 2 weeks later, and so that particular pickup date would have been July 29th of 2011.
Which was 2 weeks from that Friday, the previous Friday.
That's correct.
After you found out that information, what was the next part of your investigation? I guess to take that, at some point, did you actually go to Waste Industries location?
Actually, I went to the East Wake transfer facility, which is located at, I believe it's 840 Corporation Parkway off of New Bern Avenue in Raleigh.
And that was that hangar-like building that we saw?
That's correct.
And when you got there, did you speak with folks there?
I did.
And what were you trying to find out at that point?
To determine if they had any surveillance cameras that would have been in a position to see the flooring area where the trash would have been dumped off at, and also to speak with employees who may be involved in the manipulation process of the trash itself, and when it actually is moved from the floor into that drop area to the tractor trailers.
From, I guess, watching it and talking to folks at that facility, did you believe that the people who push the trash into the hole where it drops down to the dumpster, that they would see if human remains were in there?
The feeling that I got was, yes, they would be able to determine or discern if that was something suspicious. I think they would have been able to discern if that was the case.
And when you say discern, did you talk to people about if they could smell the trash or see the trash as they pushed it into that hole?
I did.
And based on that, did you attempt to continue investigating where that trash went, or what did you do next?
In order to determine the next location where the trash would be taken to, I tried to figure out how many tractor trailers would leave the property every day, and I believe it was around 40 or so tractor trailers full every day of trash that would go from that facility to the actual landfill, which I believe is located in Holly Springs, North Carolina. And so with that information, it seemed from the timing that we were asking about it that it would be under about 10 feet or so of trash.
And so that's with 40 full trucks a day over I guess at this point it's the 20th, so it's some 5 days later, it would be under 10 feet of trash.
Roughly.
What else did you attempt to discover while you were there at the Eastway transfer station? Did you talk to folks if they could smell human decomposition?
I did.
And did you hear or find any evidence that anyone there had smelled any sort of human remains or human decomposition in the week prior to you arriving there?
They did not.
After you investigated that area at the Eastway transfer station, did you continue interviewing and attempting to talk to folks that had interacted with Laura Ackerson in the week prior?
Yes, we did.
And at some point, did you get Laura Ackerson's cell phone records?
Yes, we had that.
And did you attempt to contact some of the businesses that she contacted in the days before her disappearance?
Yes, I did conduct some follow-up with a particular business.
Was one of those people that you spoke with Sean Tudor from Wilson Amusements?
That's correct.
And did you learn that he had had a meeting with Laura Ackerson prior to the meeting at Bill's Grill on the day that she disappeared?
That's correct.
And that day that she disappeared was July 13th?
Yes, it was.
Now, we talked about phone records. Did you ever find Laura Ackerson's phone?
No, her phone was never recovered.
At some point after you spoke with Mr. Tudor, did you also contact Shay Elmer, Amanda Hayes' daughter?
Yes, I did.
And did you speak with Shay at various points during your investigation?
Various phone conversations and various interviews which were conducted at the police department.
And was this on Thursday, July 21st, when you interviewed her at the police department?
There was an initial phone conversation that took place on July 21st of 2011 at around 8:45 in the evening. And there was an additional phone conversation that took place July 22nd, 2011 at about 11:20 in the morning.
And that was on July 22nd?
That's correct.
And so that was out Friday? Is that accurate?
I believe, yes, we're into a Friday now. And later on that same day, at about 2:45, a face-to-face interview or follow-up interview took place.
2:45 p.m. on Friday, July 22nd is when you sat down and talked with Shay Elmer.
That's correct.
After you spoke with Shay, did you have occasion to go to Lenore County, to Kinston?
Yes, I did.
And what was the purpose for you going there?
Detective Falk and I were tasked with executing search warrants for the investigation.
And who were those, or what were those search warrants for?
To collect evidence from the person of Grant Hayes and Amanda Hayes.
At that point, were you in communication with Officer Crocker, who just previously testified, to find out where Grant and Amanda Hayes were located?
Yes, our unit was in contact with their particular unit.
And what did you find out?
The surveillance efforts indicated that they were associated with 1505 Holman Street in Kinston, North Carolina.
Eric, have one moment.
Okay.
Grant and Amanda Hayes were in Kinston, North Carolina. Had you found out information that they had been in Texas earlier that week?
Yes.
And did that information come from pinging a cell phone?
It came from a variety of sources, but
And Shay Elmer, you sat down with her and she also told you what she knew about where her mother had been?
that's correct.
And Shay told you about a couple conversations that she had had with her mother?
She did.
Now, when you go out to Kinston to execute these search warrants on this defendant, Amanda Hayes and Grant Hayes, do you recall around what time it was?
I don't have noted the exact time that the search warrants were executed. I believe Detective Falk had noted that. I believe
Was it later in the day, afternoon or evening?
we're into the evening, later evening, around 10 o'clock or so.
And when you arrive, I guess, in Kinston, where do you first interact with Amanda and Grant Hayes?
At that particular residence of 1505 Holman Street.
And what did you say to them? Did you explain to them that there was a search warrant to be executed on them?
Yes, we did.
And where did you go, or what did you do to accomplish that?
Grant spoke with us initially in the front living room area. We explained to him what was happening and what was going to be expected of both of them as directed by the search warrant. And Amanda was involved with the children and taking care of their needs. And along those lines, we were trying to determine which family member might be available to watch over the children while we were executing the search warrant.
And the children that you mentioned are the two children, Grant and Gentle Hayes, Laura Ackerson's children.
Correct.
And then there's also Lily Hayes, who's the daughter of Amanda and Grant Hayes.
That's correct.
And at this time, when you are at this location, were Grant's parents home, Patsy Hayes and Grant II, I guess?
I don't believe so.
I guess as you go to execute the search warrant, what did you end up doing with the children?
I believe it was their aunt that took care of them for that particular time.
And that was Grant's sister?
I don't know for sure of their relationship.
Okay, but somebody came to pick up the children so that Grant and Amanda could go with you.
Yes.
And then where did you take Amanda and Grant?
They were taken to the Lenoir County Sheriff's Department.
And when they got to the sheriff's department, what did you do to execute these search warrants?
Well, there was fingerprints that were taken from both of them. Their belongings were also searched, their wallets, any purses, anything that would have been in their pockets at that particular time.
And was Amanda Hayes's purse searched?
Yes, it was.
And did you keep some of the items that you found in her purse as evidence in this case?
We did.
Or a first witness?
You may.
Second, I hand you a receipt that marked for identification purposes. It's State's Exhibit 556. Is that a receipt that was found in Amanda Hayes' purse?
I don't have noted if that particular receipt was located in the purse, but I didn't do the complete inventory for that particular item.
So another detective that you were working with, did they took all the items that were recovered from Amanda Hayes and the other defendant, Grant Hayes, and wrote those up in a supplement?
Yes.
Okay. And Detective, while he's looking at that, what else was done with Amanda Hayes and Grant Hayes while you were searching, when you executed the search warrant?
A lot of it was just going through that particular process, obtaining the fingerprints for the case file, and just examining the documents and any financial cards and information that may have been in the purse and wallets.
Did you have an opportunity to view and see Amanda Hayes there that evening?
Yes, I did.
And was this, I guess, as you're executing the search warrant, around what time of day is this? Is it Friday night?
It was. I believe we are now into going in. I believe we're after midnight at this particular time.
And when you saw Amanda Hayes, did you recall what she was wearing?
I don't.
Okay. Did she appear to be bleeding from her leg?
No, I did not see that.
Now, as you executed the search warrant, you said that you searched her purse. Did you also see some digital evidence from Grant and Amanda Hayes?
Yes.
And do you recall what that evidence was?
I believe several cameras, digital cameras, were seized pursuant to the search warrant. Also, I believe a couple of MP3 players or iPods.
Do you recall, were those iPod touches? Do you remember?
I do not know.
That some sort of iPod was collected from both Amanda and Grant Hayes?
Yes.
Were cell phones also seized from defendant Amanda Hayes and Grant Hayes?
Yes, they were.
Were there 2 cell phones?
Again, I'm sorry. I believe that there were at least 2.
And that there were also 2 iPods as well.
I remember 2, yes.
Thank you. You want to cover this with stuff?
Sure. Absolutely.
Detective, I'll show you what's been marked for identification purposes, the State's Exhibit 558. Does this have writing on it that reflects that it was part of the investigation into this case?
Yes,
And does it say Laura Ackerson's name and a homicide case?
it does.
And it lists the defendants Grant Hayes and Amanda Hayes,
Yes,
and the lead detective J.D. Falk.
that's correct.
And looking at the back of this, does it also have your initials and the date that this was sealed?
It does.
And was that sealed by you on July 25th of 2011?
Yes, it was.
Okay. And so all the material that was in this exhibit, say, 558, looking at this, does it refresh your memory as to where all these items were taken from?
It's noted miscellaneous receipts and papers seized from Amanda Hayes.
And going back to State's Exhibit 557, that came out of State's Exhibit 558, was this seized? Does this lead you to believe that it was seized from Amanda Hayes?
Yes,
Okay. And I'm sorry, you have State's Exhibit 556 up here. That item was also taken from what is contained in State's Exhibit 558?
I believe so, yes.
Your Honor, at this time I move to enter State's Exhibit 556.
556.
Yes, Your Honor.
Leather said.
And additionally, State's Exhibit 557, is this another receipt that was found from Amanda Hayes?
Yes, it was.
Okay. Your Honor, at this time I move to enter State's Exhibit 557.
Leather said.
Going to State's Exhibit 556, could you just read where this appears to be from?
Chick-fil-A, Town Ridge Square in Raleigh, North Carolina.
And where, do you know where Town Ridge Square is located?
It's near, Glenwood and Millbrook Road.
Okay, so not far from where Woodfield Glen Apartments is located.
Pretty close, yes.
And is that receipt from Chick-fil-A, does that have a date on it?
July 13th of 2011,
And does it have a time for that receipt from Chick-fil-A?
9:42 p.m. 21 seconds.
And could you tell the jury what items it indicates were purchased there at that Chick-fil-A?
2 kids, 6-piece nuggets, 1 meal sandwich plus pickles, 1 meal plus cheese and pickles, 2 Sprites, and 2 Dr. Peppers.
So there are a total of 4 drinks purchased?
That's correct.
And does it indicate the total of the purchase?
$22.09
And how much was paid in the change?
for a transaction, a Visa transaction, $22.09.
And does that have a receipt on the bottom for the Visa transaction?
Yes, it
And
does.
what's the last 4 digits of that Visa card?
4663.
Now, based on this receipt, did you later, as part of your investigation, go to that Chick-fil-A and attempt to acquire some surveillance video?
I was not personally involved in the obtaining of the particular video. I've had a chance to be involved in the process for obtaining it.
Sure. And previously you viewed that video?
Yes, I have.
Detective, I hand you as marked as State's Exhibit A420 for identification purposes. Does that appear to be that Chick-fil-A video from 6612 Glenwood Avenue,
Yes, it does.
and that's from July 13th of 2011.
That's correct.
And have you had a chance to view this video?
I have.
Does it depict, or who does it depict making this purchase?
It depicts Amanda Hayes.
All right, this time I move to enter State's Exhibit 420 into evidence, and I'd ask to publish it at this time.
Will be received.
Madam Clerk, please. Detective, before you, is this the Chick-fil-A video that you were able to acquire, or that the Rod Police Department was able to acquire?
Yes.
And this has two timestamps on it. Does one appear to say 17:19 or 5:11 p.m. on July 13th?
Yes, it does.
And then is there another timestamp on the top that says 21:20 or 9:20 on July 13th?
That's correct.
And did you, were you able to discern which one was accurate?
When the video is collected, the investigator that is obtaining it is checking to determine what is noted on the screen as being the time compared to what the actual time is. And in this particular case, based on him establishing those two particular times, the time stamp above on the upper right-hand corner is the actual time that this is occurring.
And in fact, the receipt that's before you, that I believe you said had a time of 9:42 p.m.
That's correct.
Here is, I guess we look at cam 2 at 9:20 p.m. Did you see Amanda Hayes and the children, Gentle and Grant, enter the restaurant?
Yes, it appears they're entering the restaurant right now.
It appears that Amanda Hayes is holding a baby.
Yes.
To be clear, Grant Hayes is not there.
I do not see him, no.
Here at 9:21 and 20 seconds, Amanda Hayes appear to be ordering.
Yes.
Here at 9:22 and 15 seconds, it appears that Amanda Hayes is paying.
Yes.
And here does it appear that Amanda Hayes then goes and walks to a table in the top right corner of this video image.
Yes, it does.
There's a couple other camera angles, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And here, does the timestamp read 21:49 and about 30 seconds?
It does.
And there, do you see Amanda Hayes appear to leave the restaurant?
Yes.
Followed by the children of Laura Ackerson and Grant Hayes.
Yes.
And she walks out, it's roughly 21:50 on that timestamp.
It is.
So, based on that timestamp, I believe when you testified when she walked in, it was around 21:20. Is that correct?
Yes.
So, spent roughly a half an hour in that restaurant.
That's correct.
And according to that receipt, how many children's drinks did she purchase?
Two Sprite says KD, and then two Dr. Pepper MD, and then the two Sprite KD, the total was 158.
Does that mean kids' drinks?
Certainly.
Okay, and then the two Dr. Peppers are medium or MD?
Yes.
Is there also an outside angle of this Chick-fil-A?
There is.
I show you camera 4. Is this at right at 21:18 or 9:18?
Yes.
And do you see a silver Durango pull up?
Appears to be a silver SUV. Yes, sir.
Let's skip forward a little bit. At 9:20, is that when, in the first video, is that when you saw Amanda Hayes come into the Chick-fil-A?
Yes, it was.
And there, do you see what appears to be folks walking from that Durango into the restaurant at 9:20?
Yes, sir.
And then one last clip. And on this clip again, is this camera 4?
It is.
Okay. And here at 21:52, does it appear that you can see some individuals leaving the Chick-fil-A and appear to be getting in that silver SUV?
Yes, sir.
if I skip this forward a little bit, here at 2154, does it appear that the lights on the vehicle are on?
Yes, sir.
And at 2155, do you see the vehicle leave?
Yes, I did.
At this point, at this juncture of your investigation, were you aware that Laura Ackerson's last cell phone call bounced off the tower near Crabtree at 4:59 p.m.?
Yes, we were aware of that.
And that she had left a voicemail for her friend Oksana saying that she was headed over to her boy's father's house?
That's correct.
And that area where that cell phone tower is located at the most is 20 or 30 minutes away from where this Woodfield Glen apartment is?
At the most, definitely.
To be clear, this video is from 9:20 to 9:50 that night.
That's correct.
Additionally, you're on coverage witness.
You may.
Additionally, off of Amanda Hayes, you also recovered a Target receipt.
That's correct.
I believe this has been admitted as State's Exhibit 557. Could you indicate what two items are found on that receipt?
One cooler with a purchase price of $41.69 and a second cooler with a purchase price of $49.99.
And after you found that receipt, did that instigate an investigation into when those coolers were purchased and where they were purchased?
Absolutely.
And when were those coolers purchased?
On July 16th of 2011 at 8:10 p.m.
And were you and other homicide detectives able to acquire some video evidence of who actually makes that purchase on July 16th?
Yes, sir.
And was that Grant Hayes that bought those two coolers?
Yes, it was.
But that receipt is found in is that found in Amanda Hayes' purse?
Yes.
Okay. So Amanda Hayes has the receipt for two coolers purchased on July 16th in her purse.
Yes, that's correct.
You mentioned that in addition to fingerprinting them, finding this evidence that was taken off of Amanda Hayes, there are also two iPods seized and two cell phones seized. Is that correct?
Correct.
And those two cell phones, were those later downloaded using a Cellbrite by Detective D.C. Moore?
I believe so, yes.
And do you recall what types of phones they were? Was one of Motorola?
I don't recall.
That night of July 22nd, going into the early morning hours of July 23rd, when you were executing these search warrants on Amanda Hayes and Grant Hayes, did you spend much time with Amanda Hayes?
They were together the entire time except for the transportation between that facility and the residence.
When they're transported from that facility to the residence, I guess to that facility and then back from the facility, were they in separate cars?
They were, yes.
Were you in Amanda Hayes' car?
No, I was with Grant Hayes.
At any point that night, did you become aware that Amanda Hayes said she was under some sort of distress?
Never.
And at that point, she's with Raleigh police detectives at the Kinston Police Department?
That's correct. Well, the Lenoir County Sheriff's Department.
The Lenoir County Sheriff's Department. Were you able to see Amanda Hayes' demeanor at that time?
Absolutely.
What was her demeanor like?
She was very calm and relaxed.
That ever changed that night?
Never.
After you finished executing this search warrant and they're fingerprinted and these items were taken, what happened next?
Both of them were transported back to the residence. They were given an inventory of the property seized pursuant to the search warrant.
And is that a pink copy?
Yes.
Okay. When, I guess did you notify Amanda Grant Hayes that they're going to be able to go back to that house that they're staying in?
We did.
And then, what other Raleigh police detectives were there executing the search warrant with you?
Detective Falk.
And did Amanda Hayes ride with Detective Falk to the sheriff's office?
I believe she rode with the Kinston investigator.
That target receipt that you found off of Amanda Hayes, there's also some video that was acquired that showed that coolers were purchased.
That's correct.
Okay, that was the one that showed Grant Hayes in the video.
That's correct.
After that was done, did you conduct further investigation into Target specifically or any other stores?
Target as well as 2 Walmart businesses.
And you and other homicide detectives worked to discover what purchases were made by Amanda or Grant Hayes at those institutions over the days immediately after July 13th?
Yes, we did.
At this point, this Friday night, did you become aware at some point that detectives Gill and Latour headed to Texas?
I don't know the exact timing of their travels, but I believe it was around that particular time, yes, into Saturday.
And as you go into Saturday, Laura Ackerson still hasn't been found at that point, correct?
Correct.
At some point, did you conduct some investigation into, I guess in the days after that, did you conduct some investigation into a Lowe's hardware store?
I did.
And why did you do that?
When the detectives from the Raleigh Police Department responded to the Texas residents there, they had acquired or obtained a machete that was located on the property, and the closest hardware store near this area that we're involved in was the Lowe's.
And when we say this area near Grant and Amanda's apartment at Woodfield Glen here in Raleigh?
Correct.
Okay. So you're trying to find the closest hardware store to their apartment here in Raleigh?
Correct.
And what did you find?
We were able to determine what the product number was for the machete, and they were able to query the database to determine the last time that particular product number was purchased.
And I guess in looking at those past purchases of machetes, were any of them purchased by Amanda Hayes or Grant Hayes?
It did not appear so, no.
So at any point were you able to discern where the machete was purchased?
That particular one recovered in Texas, I was not involved in that particular follow-up.
After you worked on that, following up with Lowe's, at this point had Laura's body been discovered on Sunday night?
Sunday evening, correct, yes.
And were you made aware of that from the detectives down in Texas?
Absolutely.
As Laura's body or parts of her body were found that Sunday evening, were you tasked with talking to Heidi Shoemaker again?
A brief follow-up phone call with her, yes.
And what was the purpose of that follow-up?
To determine what the particular tattoo of Laura's, on Laura's foot was and what the attributes were and what was on that particular tattoo.
At that point, only parts of Laura's torso and leg had been found?
I believe so, yes.
And so dental records weren't really an option on that Sunday night, were they?
No, not at that time.
At no point, though, was either of Laura's feet found. Is that accurate?
I do not believe so, no.
Later that Sunday night, after I guess you'd spoken to Heidi and these body parts had been recovered, at that point, later that evening, did you acquire and execute arrest warrants on Grant and Amanda Hayes?
Yes.
And where were those executed?
The arrest warrants
Yes,
were executed or they were placed into custody at that same residence in Kinston.
And were you present for that?
No, sir.
Were they transported back to Raleigh by detectives of the Raleigh Police Department?
Yes, they were.
Now, on that Monday, July 25th, after that arrest had occurred in the early morning hours, did you have occasion to investigate a storage facility?
I did.
And why did you investigate that storage facility?
That particular storage facility was identified by Shay, Amanda's daughter, as one that was leased at some point by them.
Do you recall where that storage facility was located?
It's the Secure Care Storage Facility. It's located at 7012 Glenwood Avenue.
Where is that in relation to Grant and Amanda's apartment?
It is further outbound or to the west of Millbrook Road, maybe within a few blocks of Millbrook and Glenwood.
Did you attempt to uncover if Amanda Hayes had been there recently?
Try to, yes.
And I guess at this point, had you had some information from Shay that this antique hutch had been taken from the storage facility down to Texas?
Yes, we had that information.
And detectives in Texas actually had eyes on this piece of furniture at Karen Berry's property.
That's correct.
At that point, did you attempt to, did you talk with folks from that storage facility?
Yes, I did.
And I guess without getting into the content of what they said, did you end up going to that storage facility to see if that piece of furniture was still in that facility?
Yes, we did.
And I guess did you get a search warrant to execute into that?
That's correct.
And when you got there, could you describe how these storage lockers, how they're locked down? Is there a code to get into the complex? Are they locked with a key lock? Can you explain how it's done?
I believe the gate to the facility in general, if it were daytime hours, they did not lock the gate. It was generally open during the day, and they would typically close it or secure it after the business hours. And it was an outdoor facility, and the individual units were just typical metal roll-down gates with the lock attached to each individual unit.
When you went to execute that search warrant into that storage facility, did CCBI come out to take pictures of it?
They did, yes.
And also to process it for any latent evidence like fingerprints or like bodily fluids or anything along those lines?
I don't remember all of the examinations that were conducted on that particular storage unit, but they did assist in the investigation.
I guess when you looked at that storage unit, was there anything about it aside from the hole where the hutch had been that was relevant to your investigation?
No, it did not appear like it was relevant, no.
Did it appear to be a whole bunch of personal belongings of Amanda Grant Hayes?
It did, yes.
And with regard to that, the gate, were you able to discern if a code was necessary to enter in there during the day?
Right. Typically, if it were daytime hours, the gate was ajar and people could come and go as they pleased.
And then at night, you had to punch in a code to get through that gate?
That's correct.
And I guess was there any way that it would record who went through that gate after the daytime hours?
Yes, that was time stamped if that was to occur. If somebody were coming into the property, they would have to use their code after hours, yes.
After looking at those records with the folks over there, did you determine if Amanda Grant Hayes had come to that storage facility after hours?
There were no entries after hours for that particular lease.
And without going into the content of it, did you discern if Amanda Grant Hayes had been there during the daylight hours?
Yes.
After you researched that storage facility, what was the next part of your investigation?
I contacted Heidi Schumacher to determine if there were any recent vehicle collisions or accidents involving Laura's vehicle.
And why did you do that?
We observed a small amount of damage on the right rear area of Laura's vehicle.
And were you able to make any links to any sort of accidents or damage using your resources and talking to Heidi?
No, sir.
And I guess, could you describe the damage on the right rear part of that Ford Focus?
It was relatively minor. It would have been probably a side swipe. It could even have been with a grocery cart causing that damage. It was relatively minor.
And when that car was initially found, that was the vehicle, that white Ford Focus, that was processed by CCBI agent Tremlett, is that correct?
That's correct.
After you looked into that, did you work on some items for Detective Gill, who was down in Texas?
I did, yes.
And what was that?
I created a photographic lineup involving Grant Hayes.
And did you send those photo lineups down to Texas in case Detective Gill needed someone to identify Grant Hayes?
Yes, I did.
After that, I guess we're approaching July 28th at this point. We're into the week after Laura's car was found. What was the next part of your investigation?
I conducted follow-up with a manager at the Walmart business located at 6600 Glenwood Avenue.
And what was the purpose of contacting that manager at Walmart?
We had recovered coolers in Texas, and we were trying to determine if those coolers were purchased at any of the Raleigh establishments or businesses.
And were you able to discern that purchases had occurred here in Raleigh for those coolers?
Yes, ultimately, we located those particular purchases.
And when were the purchases? I guess, Detective, at some point did you become aware that there were some purchases for some coolers on July 11th of 2013?
Yes, I've noted a July 11th purchase,
And
correct.
did you get the video and determine that those were two folks that were not Grant and Amanda Hayes?
That's correct.
Okay. So the July 11th wasn't relevant to your investigation because it was obviously two people that weren't either Amanda or Grant Hayes?
Correct.
After that, did you also, I guess you had a target receiving Amanda Hayes' purse for 2 coolers. Did you also determine that more coolers had been purchased at Walmart?
Yes.
And did you provide the financial information about those purchases to Detective Falk, who's the lead detective in this case?
Yes, I did.
In this Walmart, I guess as you're researching, where is it located?
The 6600 Glenwood Avenue Walmart is basically in the same complex as the Chick-fil-A that we just spoke of.
And that's near the intersection of Glenwood and Millbrook Road?
Between Pleasant Valley and Pleasant Valley and Millbrook on Glenwood.
Okay. And that's the Walmart that's located at 6600 Glenwood Avenue?
Yes.
Additionally, at some point, did you become aware of this video and purchase of a saw out in the Briar Creek Walmart?
Yes.
And how were you made aware of the possibility of a saw being purchased?
A reciprocating saw manual was located at a later search at the Hayes' residence.
And did Shay provide that to you?
She provided information that it existed.
Do you recall when that was that Shay provided that information?
I believe it was on August 2nd, 2011.
In those first initial searches into Grant and Amanda's apartment, the first one that was conducted, I guess, on Wednesday morning, July 19th, at that point, that was a missing persons case, is that correct?
It was.
And so you're trying to find some evidence of Laura or some indication of where she might have gone?
That's correct.
Subsequent to that, were there more searches of that apartment done by the Raleigh Police Department?
That's correct.
And I guess as time moved along, were some of those searches done to see if there were any bodily fluids in that apartment?
Yes.
And then after you got this information from Shay, was there then another search warrant done to acquire this saw manual?
Yes, sir.
And did Shay also provide you with a CD that had a song on it called Broomstick Rider?
Yes, she provided that on July 28th of 2011.
July 28th was around, I guess was July 29th the date that Mr. Herbert testified when you went to search the garbage?
That's correct.
And could you tell the jury, I believe you mentioned that the garbage pickup once every 2 weeks
Yes,
on a Friday?
that's correct.
And you mentioned that you had made contact with Waste Management earlier in this investigation. On July 29th, did you make arrangements to have the dumpster dumped in a secure location in that East Wake transfer facility?
Yes, we did.
And I guess as the garbage was picked up that morning, what did you do?
After it was loaded onto his vehicle, I followed behind his vehicle to the East Wake transfer site facility and observed him position it so the trash would become discarded on the coned off area that we had for this particular investigation.
And that dumpster that you're referring to, that's a dumpster from the Woodfield Glen Apartments?
Correct.
And is there any way to get into that dumpster as it sits there at Woodfield Glen Apartments?
Get into as,
There's a slide that leads into the dumpster, correct?
right,
And there's some mechanism that pounds the trash, I guess, forward in the dumpster?
that's correct.
It's not, I guess it's different than a dumpster where you could flip the lid up and go into.
Correct.
This dumpster is some 20 or 30 yards long.
It is.
And when you saw Mr. Herbert pick up that dumpster that morning, at any point did anyone get into the dumpster or do anything to the dumpster?
No, sir.
And on the way from Woodfield Glen Apartments to the East Wake transfer facility, at any point did Mr. Herbert stop or anyone touch any of the garbage?
No.
And as you watched it there at East Wake transfer facility be dumped out in this cordoned off area, at any point did the garbage that came from that dumpster get mixed in with garbage from any other dumpster?
No, it didn't.
And that area was cordoned off with cones, is that correct?
That's correct.
And so after the trash is left there, what do you do next?
At that point, we took just an initial overview of what we're dealing with and how we're going to examine this particular container, and not the container, but the contents that were in the container. And upon first glance, we noticed that there was a yellow vacuum cleaner with a circular handle that was right there amongst the garbage. And at that point, since we had seen that particular vacuum cleaner amongst photographs involving the Hayes, we decided to contact CCBI to assist us in the search.
So at this point, you'd also talked to Shay about that yellow vacuum cleaner.
Yes,
And was it your information that that yellow vacuum cleaner stopped working at some point and Shay had to go and bring another vacuum cleaner over to the Hayes apartment?
that's correct.
And that was on Thursday, July 14th.
I don't recall the exact day. That sounds close to the time frame that she told us, yes.
And did she also tell you that when she went over that apartment, her mother, Amanda Hayes, appeared to be cleaning that apartment?
Yes.
Your Honor, coverage witness.
Sure.
Detective, I believe it's been previously entered as Case Exhibit A41. Is this the yellow vacuum cleaner that you saw in those pictures that Shay provided you?
Yes, it is.
And is this the yellow vacuum cleaner that you also saw in the garbage there on that dumpster on July 29th?
Yes, sir.
There's your information that this vacuum cleaner belonged to Grant and Amanda Hayes.
That's correct.
And when you saw that in the trash, what did that mean to you?
At that point, we were concerned about anything that might have been of evidentiary value to the investigation. At that point, we had already recovered body parts, and so we were at that stage of it. We were looking for anything related to the dismemberment or pieces of evidence related to the investigation itself.
And I guess when you saw this vacuum cleaner in the trash, that leads you to believe that there might be more trash related to this investigation coming from Grant and Amanda Hayes' apartment?
Absolutely.
This is a good time to take the afternoon break.
Yes, sir.
All right, folks, it's about 5 to 4. Why don't we take about 10 minutes to stretch your legs and take a break. Obviously, don't discuss the matter among yourselves. Keep an open mind. Don't form or express any opinion about the guilt or innocence of the defendant or any matter of controversy. Come on back in reassemble the jury room in about 10 minutes, and we'll proceed on at that time. Thank you.